Did you know that the city of Jacksonville is actually the most affordable metropolitan area within the entire state of Florida? And it's actually about $100,000 cheaper than the median sale price in the entire state. With that being said, it's no wonder that people are flocking to the northeastern Florida area in droves, but in this video, what I want to do is cover everything that you need to know and some of the costs, financial and also cost lifestyle, that are going to affect your decision to move to the Jacksonville area. What's up, everyone? My name's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in northeastern Florida, reach out to me and my team. All we try to do is give you the information so that you can make an educated decision on what you want to do, which is buy, sell, or invest here in northeastern Florida. So in this video, what we're going to do is outline some of the reasons that people are actually leaving the city of Jacksonville. And we're going to cover things such as the cost of living. We're going to talk about traffic and congestion. We're also going to talk about crime in schools in this video. So it's really the main important things that people are looking for when they are relocating to an area that is causing people to leave the city of Jacksonville. So the first thing that I want to start out on is going to just be the low ball of traffic and infrastructure. The city of Jacksonville just became a major metropolitan area within the past couple years. Typically that is measured with a population of over 1 million people or more. And the city of Jacksonville reached that since COVID, since we had a mass relocation of people moving here because of low interest rates and more affordability here in northeastern Florida. And with that sudden increase in population and the issues with downtown Jacksonville, the lifestyle and the congestion, how the city is planned, has led to more issues in terms of traffic and congestion in the area. For 2020, getting around Jacksonville was pretty easy. You could consider it a 20-minute city. You can pretty much get anything you need within 20 minutes. And that is still very, very true. But if you are living here in the area and you've seen how quickly it's changed over the past 5 years, it's definitely made you raise your eyebrow or cause some concern, and definitely has impacted your lifestyle here as a local because you're not used to the traffic and congestion that we have seen these past 5 years that you may have been used to your past 20, 30, 40 years of living here in the city of Jacksonville. Now, before I go too deep on traffic and congestion, the city of Jacksonville is a metropolitan area. It's going to be one of the main areas for good paying jobs here, including for my area here in St. Johns County. A lot of people commute up to Jacksonville for that higher paying job. On top of that, it's also a vacation tourist destination, just like the city of St. Augustine is. The city of Jacksonville has their own tourism industry going on up there as well. So you have a variety of factors that are adding on to this traffic and congestion. And many people will complain about this, just like they do here in St. Augustine. But if you've lived anywhere else that has any type of significant traffic, and we're talking about other metropolitan areas, right? So if you're talking about Orlando or Miami or Tampa, if you're talking about Atlanta, you're talking about New York, DC, Baltimore, any of those areas, the traffic there is 5 to 10 times worse, in my personal opinion. The reason that we see it as an issue here and why people are complaining about the traffic here is because it was never an issue before. They never had to worry about standstill traffic or accidents all the time. Whereas now, it's starting to become more and more of a thing. And with that, we're starting to see more infrastructure projects throughout the city of Jacksonville and northeastern Florida to alleviate some of those issues. But nevertheless, this does impact your lifestyle here if you are looking to relocate to the area and you're always having to deal with traffic and congestion. And a lot of that traffic and congestion is coming from the city working on itself. The infrastructure in the area seems to be constantly worked on. I live here in St. Augustine. We have State Road 16 and I-95, and they've been working on that for the better part of 2 years. And it's really just seemed like it's made no progress at all. And it's just been a pain point for a lot of people here in the northern part of St. Augustine. And the city of Jacksonville is no different. We had a ton of people move to the area within a short amount of time. So that impacted the local schools and impacted the local infrastructure. And we're really, in reality, the entire northeastern Florida area is playing catch up in terms of the infrastructure projects to alleviate some of these pains. Now, with all that being said, there are plenty of places in the city of Jacksonville where you won't even feel the congestion like you would in certain choke points, but it is something that you have to deal with here. But that is no different than any major metropolitan area, and it's actually the traffic and congestion comparatively to them is going to be much nicer, right? Because when you're talking about the other major metros like Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, New York, you're talking about standstill traffic where you're sitting there for maybe 30 minutes to an hour, a lot of the cases. And I lived in New York and I dealt with all of that stuff. I drove multiple times through Baltimore, DC, Richmond area, and that whole area is a mess, and nothing here compares to that. The second reason that people are looking to move away from Jacksonville is because of the cost of living situation. Now, I started off this video by saying that, hey, the median sale price here in the city of Jacksonville is actually $100,000 less than the rest of the state of Florida. The median sale price in the state of Florida is $410,000 as of January, and the median sale price here is $311,000 in the city of Jacksonville. So we are $99,000 cheaper than the rest of the entire state of Florida on average. But that doesn't mean that the people here can actually afford it or actually think of it as a deal anymore. When people see housing prices now, if you're coming from New York or LA or Miami or Orlando or any of these other major metropolitan areas, you see housing prices in the city of Jacksonville and you're like, my gosh, this place is affordable. But if you've lived here for your entire life and you've seen where the housing market has gone, especially since the great financial crisis, every year you're seeing it like, man, this place just keeps getting more and more expensive. And you don't have the right frame of reference to see that it's actually pretty affordable. So when people are looking at the cost of living and they've lived here for a while, they're going to greener pastures. And that's typically more of a rural area, right? So if we're looking at the macro data, we can pull this from Redfin. People are moving from the city of Jacksonville to areas like South Carolina or North Carolina or Tennessee, areas where the housing is a lot more affordable and where you're not as close to the beach, so it's not as expensive. With this as well, it has caused homeowners to have higher property taxes. Now, we do have the homestead exemption here in the state of Florida, so if you buy a home and it's your primary residence, you can apply for the homestead exemption, which gives you a $50,000 reduction off of your taxable value. So if your taxable value is at $300,000, you'll be then taxed based off of $250,000 taxable value. On top of that, it keeps your property taxes from increasing. It caps it at 3% year over year over year. So for many years, property taxes didn't change at all because property wasn't going up as quick as it has in the past. But since COVID, we had years where we were appreciating double digits year over year, and people have seen their tax bills go up. Now, if you have the homestead exemption, the most it can go up is 3% year over year over year. It's still going to go up slightly, but nothing drastic. If you didn't have the homestead exemption, the maximum amount it can go up is 10%. So if you didn't have that exemption applied to your house, you could see your property taxes jump pretty significantly over the last 5 years. Aside from that, rent has also changed pretty drastically. The area, in terms of the economy and the people moving here, we just have more people living in the area, and our economy, our local job market, has just gotten better and better, especially since the COVID days, because so many companies relocated from different areas to not only South Florida, but northeastern Florida as well. And in turn, that has made the rental market start to climb pretty significantly. So there's a running joke in the area where it's like, where's the $1,000 rents anymore? And really, if you want to pay $1,000 in rent, you're probably going to live in more than likely a not so desirable area, or you're renting a room in someone's house anymore. That's really how drastic it's changed in the area. Aside from the housing market, we do also have our insurance market. Car insurance is extremely expensive here. I think we're the second most expensive in the entire country. But on top of that, if you haven't heard, the housing insurance as well here is not the best in the world. And that's because of hurricanes and natural disasters. We've been pretty well insulated to these major increases that we've seen and that we've seen on the news stories like South Florida has. And that's because in northeastern Florida, we just don't get hit with nearly as many hurricanes. We don't get hit with nearly the strength of hurricane that South Florida and the Panhandle get hit with. And if you look at the past 124 years, you can see that Duval County, St. Johns County, when you're comparing it to the rest of the state, is actually the safest place to live when it comes down to hurricanes and landfall. The third reason that people are leaving the city of Jacksonville is going to be the school system. Now, many of you parents out there want the best for your kids, right? So you want to put them in the best environment where they can learn. You want to put them in the best environment where they can socialize with other kids. And in many areas of Jacksonville, unfortunately, they don't have the best school system. They have made really great improvements over the past couple of years, especially since COVID, but it's still not at a level where a lot of parents would like. With that being said, there are plenty of pockets of the city of Jacksonville. It is a huge city. It's the largest city by landmass within the United States. There are plenty of pockets of Jacksonville where you have fantastic schools. But there are also pockets of Jacksonville, once again, it's a huge city, that don't have the best schools in the world. So a lot of the people that are leaving this area are looking for greener pastures in terms of they want better schools, but they also want a better environment for their kids. So a lot of people are moving over to St. Augustine, which is where I live. And the schools here, 71% of the schools here are A-rated schools. We're the #2 school district in the entire state of Florida. And that's something that we've been able to hang our hat on for several years. We've gone St. Johns County is #1 or #2, for the past 10 years at least in terms of the school districts in the entire state of Florida. So you see a lot of people that are in Jacksonville relocating to the surrounding area, whether it's Clay County or Nassau County or St. Johns County, to be able to give their kids a different lifestyle. Many families that are looking for the better education, but they want to be on the border of Duval County so it's easier commute into Jacksonville or anywhere within northeastern Florida, are looking at areas in St. Johns County like Nocatee or Ponte Vedra Beach, or northern part of St. Johns County, which is called St. Johns. Now, of course, within the city of Jacksonville, you do also have private schools as an option, but this is an added expense on you, where we already talked about the cost of living and it rising. But that may be something that a lot of people want to put the money into the education. So that may be something that you're okay with, as long as you can, make sure that the school is great and your commute to work is great as well. Okay, and the fourth reason that people are leaving the city of Jacksonville is going to be crime and safety. Now, when I say that, there are tons of areas in Jacksonville that I would have no problem living. I'd have no problem putting my grandma there and having her live there alone. There's really tons of parts of Jacksonville that are beautiful. For example, me and my wife wanted to move up to Avondale, which is about 45 minutes from my main market here in St. Augustine. That's just because the neighborhood has older style homes. There's parks that run through it. It's a beautiful, fantastic neighborhood that attracts a ton of people to live there. But I just didn't want to move that far. It's just too far of a commute for me. But aside from that, if you're looking at just statistics based on the population, per 100,000, they do it from the state level, you can see that the city of Jacksonville has a lot more crime than what you're going to see in neighboring counties like Nassau County or Clay County or St. Johns County. And in some cases, it's almost double what you would see here in St. Johns County. So that's one reason that people are leaving the city of Jacksonville. They probably lived in that specific area and they're like, I got to get out of Dodge and go to a different place, because there's certain parts of the city that don't, in terms of crime, aren't as great as other parts. Now, if you look at the statistics from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, you're going to see that per 100,000 people in the city of Jacksonville, also known as Duval County, you're going to see there's about 3,500 crimes per 100,000 people. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole bunch, roughly 3%, right? 3 to 4%. But when you compare it to St. Johns County, you can see that we're at the number around 1,500. So when you're comparing apples and oranges in terms of safety, you're going to see that, neighboring counties have about half the crime of what Duval County has. And that's one of the major reasons that people are leaving the area. It's going to be safety, and it's also going to be lifestyle. And we're going to get into lifestyle in the next point. And the fifth and final reason that people are going to be leaving the city of Jacksonville is just going to be the lifestyle that Jacksonville affords to them. Now, there are plenty of great things about living in the city of Jacksonville. They have beautiful beaches. They have an NFL team. They have a soccer team coming as well, the Jacksonville Armada. And there's tons of things to do in terms of being outdoors. But when you're talking about a metropolitan area in the downtown of the city of Jacksonville, it's just not up to snuff when you compare it to other major metropolitan areas. And like I covered before, the city of Jacksonville is really a new metropolitan area. It's starting to build itself up. And we are seeing that in the infrastructure projects that they are covering. The north bank and the south bank of the St. Johns River, which runs right through the middle of Jacksonville, just outside of downtown, is seeing a ton of investment. Hundreds of millions of dollars are going into that riverfront so they can kind of create more of a park system that people enjoy going down to, hanging out, maybe going to get a cup of coffee, going on a walk, fishing from the river, all that kind of stuff. That's happening right now, but it's going to be some years before all these projects are completed. And that's one of the major things that the city of Jacksonville is missing, is a vibrant nightlife in downtown. Now, if you go downtown Jacksonville after like 5 or 6 o'clock, it's going to pretty much be a ghost town. A lot of people, they go home and spend time in their respective neighborhoods, their respective main streets, or they're going over to the Jax Beach area where you're going to have a whole bunch of restaurants and bars that you can hang out on. Also the beach area as well. So it's not like we don't have anything in terms of nightlife and lifestyle. It's just that the area you'd expect it to be in is dead. There's nothing going on down there. And just to give you an idea, the best restaurant in downtown Jacksonville for the longest time, and what was at the Landing, which is like the area you'd expect people to go and hang out in, was Hooters, right? And Hooters has great wings. It's a great little restaurant. With that being said, they've been adding a ton of great restaurants downtown. They have a new music venue downtown, a new dance hall downtown, River and Post, which is a great rooftop bar. They have Chop, I think it's called the Chop House downtown, which is a steakhouse. I haven't been to it yet, but I've heard a whole bunch of great things about it. And aside from that, they're also getting a whole bunch of great acts to come through downtown Jacksonville as well. So when you're looking at downtown Jacksonville, there are a lot of things that are changing. I mentioned that the riverfront is pretty much changing along the north and south bank. Millions of dollars are going into there, but also they're putting more restaurants, more nightlife, entertainment venues in downtown to kind of attract people to that area. The NFL stadium for the Jaguars is getting completely renovated. They're also going to be renovating the surrounding area there. They're also adding a soccer team to the area as well, the Jacksonville Armada. So there are plenty of things that are going on in Jacksonville that will make it a very, very cool city and have a cool downtown, but it's just going to take some time. And just to give you a quick example, and this is anecdotal, I'm a big Shane Gillis fan. He's one of the best comedians out. They came this past Saturday, put on a show in downtown Jacksonville. So we're getting more and more acts to come to our area to give you that entertainment and nightlife that a lot of people are looking for. But in general, you need to have some patience because all this stuff, though it sounds great as I'm talking about it, doesn't go as planned always. They've been talking about redoing downtown Jacksonville for the past 20 years, or at least as long as I've been alive. And it hasn't made much changes, but it does seem right now that we are turning that corner and that the city of Jacksonville is going to get cooler and cooler as we go along. But that's probably one of the main reasons that people aren't looking to stay in the city of Jacksonville is the lifestyle that it affords. So you see many people going to other metropolitan areas where it's much, much more expensive than the city of Jacksonville because they want a different lifestyle. All right, guys, and that is it. Those are the reasons that people are leaving the city of Jacksonville. If none of these scare you and you're still looking to buy in northeastern Florida, whether it's the city of St. Augustine or it's the city of Jacksonville, make sure you reach out to me and my team directly. All we try to do is give you the information so that you can make an educated decision on what you want to do, which is buy, sell, or invest here in northeastern Florida. Until next time, guys, have a good one.